Which item in the weekly vault is the best upgrade? Is this piece of gear an upgrade? Which item is better? How much damage should I be doing in these specific situations right now? If you've ever wondered any of these things, then you've probably heard someone say, sim yourself. We're going to look at exactly what that means and how to do it. Check out the chapters in the timeline to jump around as needed. So what even is simming yourself? It means feeding your character's information into a program, and then the computer will pretend to play the game under the given circumstances and spit out the information on how much damage your character did. We're going to use a tool that is completely free because who the heck wants to pay for that stuff? Well, you might when you find out the premium features, but I can't express enough that 1. I am not sponsored in any way, and 2. I don't pay for premium. Any premium footage will come from a friend's account. I don't think it's necessary for me, but if you want to do that, you do you, boo. So there are plenty of tools out there, but we're going to keep it simple. The tool we're going to focus on is Raidbots. It's just a website. If you want to follow along, www.raidbots.com. When we're on Raidbots, we're going to click into the quick sim for now, and you'll see a couple boxes. There are 2 different ways to load your character. Option number 1, load from the Armory. This is by far the easiest. It gets your character's information from the Armory and loads everything in an as-is state from the last time you logged out. Step 1, select a region. Step 2, select a realm. And Step 3, enter your character's name and hope you don't have any of those stupid characters. Voila, your character is loaded and ready to sim. Option number 2, load from the Simulation Craft add-on known as SimC. This is by far the best because it allows you to gather way more information about your character. In addition to your current spec and all your currently equipped gear that you get from loading from the Armory, SimC option will also allow you to load all the gear from your bags, all your spec loadouts that you have saved, and as we'll talk about later, your Great Vault options. So how do we do this? Step 1, you need to install the add-on. Use your favorite add-on installer and search for Simulation Craft and install that. I'm not going to go over how to do that stuff in this video, so if you're unsure, just pause quickly, go learn how to do that, and come back. Step 2, log into the game and get your output. You can type /simc in the chat window, or click the SimC icon on your minimap. This will pop up a window with a ton of text. Just copy that by pressing Ctrl-C. Once you have that copied, go back to your Raidbots window, paste it in the SimC section. It's not going to look much different on the Quick Sim page, but when we get to other pages, you'll see the difference. Now that we know how to load our character, we need to figure out what we're doing. We're going to focus on a few different sections here, including Quick Sim, Top Gear, Drop Optimizer, and Stat Weights. The Quick Sim option, super simple, straightforward. It's going to answer the question, how much damage should I be doing right now with this setup? Just load your character, hit Run Quick Sim, read the output. When you're on a free account like me, your job will be put into a queue to be completed. Based on how busy the site is, the queue can be very large or very small. I don't think I've ever waited more than a few minutes for my sim results. The premium option lets you skip the line and sim immediately. The default option on the simulation assumes a patchwork-style raid encounter. This means no movement, you just stand and blast, use all the best consumables, and have all the best raid buffs possible. We're going to talk about these different fight styles at the end of the video, so if you need more information about that, feel free to jump there. For the Top Gear section, we need to load from SimC. There are a ton of options here, but we're going to keep it simple on how to compare gear sets. We're going to scroll down and see that all the gear we have equipped is already in a selected state. Now, we want to select some items from our bags to compare, so let's click some of those. As we get down past the gear, we can compare with different enchants and gems. Even further beyond that, we can see all the different spec loadouts that have come in from our characters on the SimC. You'll also note at the bottom of the page, it says, iterations, some number of 300,000. On a free account, you're limited to only 300,000 different combinations of gear. So for example, one combination is your baseline setup plus your current spec. Another is your baseline setup plus the other spec you selected. And for each piece of gear you choose to sim, it'll create more possible combinations. As you can see, the premium options, depending on the tier you go, allow additional iterations, which means you can test more things at a time. I don't find this super necessary, but if you want to, go for it. Right off the top, we've got the good stuff. Here's your calculated expected DPS. Directly below that is the talent setup that was determined to be the best. Right below that is the gear set based on items you selected that it determined will put out the highest DPS. Like it says at the bottom here, any changes from your equipped gear are highlighted items. Lastly, it provides a table of all the combinations compared to your current gear. For example, it shows my current gear and spec is here, and if I use these items instead of what is currently equipped, my DPS will go up by this amount, theoretically. If I scroll down here, I can see the other spec I selected for testing Sims out to be roughly this much less DPS than my current setup. So you've got your Great Vault, and you're not sure which item to pick. You can use the Top Gear tool, but you have to do something specific with your SimC add-on. Don't worry, it isn't complicated. When you go to get your SimC add-on information, open your Great Vault first. While it's open, then open your SimC add-on, copy the text. Pasting that into Top Gear will now give you your gear from your bags, and the gear from your Great Vault, and they're tagged with this little GV ribbon on the top right corner. Now select the GV tagged items to compare them against your current stuff and wait for the results. Take note, some of your Great Vault loot might be upgradable, but the sim won't take that into account unless you set specific things, which we're not going to get into. So you have to use some critical thinking skills to determine, is this going to be a better item if I upgrade it? So you can choose, is this better in the future, or is this better right now? Now we're on to the upgrade finder, aka the Droptimizer. First, as always, load your character. Next, we want to check out some sources. I'm going to check Mythic Plus dungeons. This gives me a list of all the currently available M Plus dungeons. Because I'm on the free version, I have to do one dungeon at a time. Obviously, the premium option lets you do all the dungeons at once. Next, we want to put in roughly what level of dungeons we can complete. So in this case, let's try testing my character at this level in this dungeon. Here's the output. Anything listed above my current gear is a direct upgrade and shows roughly how much of an upgrade it is. Anything under these conditions is a downgrade or neutral. Little bit of bonus content from the premium version. As you can see, this was run on my character for plus 20s on all of the dungeons. It shows for each dungeon which items are an upgrade, by how much, and at the bottom is a list of all the items of which ones are going to give me the biggest upgrade, sorted best upgrade to worst. Let's take a look at the stat weight section. I don't know what stats I should go for. The guide I read said, usually this, but sim yourself. So here we are, wanting to sim yourself. Stat weights are not great and are constantly changing, but you can run this to give you a rough idea about what is going to be good for you right now under these specific conditions. Here are mine. Let me know if your stat weights show anything different than what the guide says for your spec. We're going to look at the simulation options now. Near the bottom of each page, before you hit Run Sim, there are a few sections you can expand, but we're just going to look at the simulation options one for a few quick and easy options. The first thing is the fight style. Number 1, patchwork. It's the default option here. It assumes no movement, single target, raid setting, all the good buffs, all the consumables. Number 2, training dummy. This is the same as patchwork, but no raid buffs, no consumables. It's good for comparing your information when you're hitting a training dummy in one of the main cities. The third thing is the dungeon slice. It's a new fight style in Simulation Craft that approximates a Mythic Plus dungeon with trash packs and bosses. It's built to be roughly equivalent to a 6-minute slice of a Mythic 10. This option is still relatively new and is being worked on. It's not fully supported yet, but you can give it a rip for funsies. Next, you can select the number of bosses. This option can be used with the patchwork or dummy fight styles and just allows you to simply add more targets. For example, in current content, we have the Primal Council raid boss, which is 4 targets. You could select patchwork and then set the number of bosses to 4 to get an example of that. But remember, patchwork assumes no movement. There's also a section where you can play with the buffs, debuffs, and consumables. Once you're in the simulation options section, there's a button at the bottom that says show more options. You can click this to play with buffs, debuffs, and consumables. So that was how to sim your character, the free version. It's easy and quick, and you don't have to do a ton to get going. If you're feeling really spicy, you can dive into it further, but remember, sims never perfectly reflect the environments you'll be fighting in. If you like the guide, or just want to pad my ego a bit, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments what you're hoping to learn. And maybe I'll see you next time for some more World of Warcraft content.